30 points, 20 rebounds, 20 assists, and change. Nikola Jokic does the unbelievable, the impossible, the incredible, the historic, the legendary. We talk about it on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Matt Moore. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn of Mile High Sports. You can catch the Pickaxe podcast tomorrow morning. I think did you already record it?
Nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ryan's going to do another podcast here either tonight or tomorrow. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Tonight's show is a bonus episode on the Denver Nuggets win over the Phoenix Suns as they get the win in Denver. Is this the season series? Did they already win it? It was
I believe they won it. They're now 3-1 against the Suns on the season.
They have secured tiebreaker over the Phoenix Suns in case the Suns go on some sort of miracle run. They win 149-141 in overtime in a defensive slugfest. The Nuggets shot the lights out in this series, but look, we'll just start at the top here. Jokic becomes the first player in NBA history to have a 30-20-20 game. Wilt had two other 20-20-20 games, but nobody's ever had a 30-20-20 in recorded history. It's possible that one of those box scores that's like lost to history might have one, but in recorded NBA history, this is the first 30-20-20 game. Jokic finishes with 31 points, 21 rebounds, 22 assists, so he had 30-20-20 and change. 3 steals, was absolutely phenomenal, by the way, on defense in the fourth quarter. 13 of 22 from the field, 3 of 7 from three-point range, so that makes him 10 of 15 from two-point range, 2 of 3 from the line. He had 3 free throws, and he had 31 points. And a solid +8, 30-20-20, and they only won his minutes by 8.
The funny secret is that he was okay in the first half.
Yeah. So the first I will set the scene here. So if I don't have anything that I specifically am looking to ask Malone, I don't always go to the pregame presser because there's not a lot I'm going to get there. I don't like to go in the locker room before the games. The players are usually trying to get into game mode, and I don't like to disturb them with my presence as an annoying person. So I don't go. Sometimes I will be late for games. I'm there for most games pregame, but tonight was a special one because it was going to be an 8:00 game. Kids were home with me all day, so I was like, I'll go to the arena late. So I left at a very reasonable hour of 6 p.m. And I got there about 9 because 4 lanes of I-25 were shut down. So I was about to turn off and go back home. I was very close. It's an hour drive for me. I was very, very close to turning around and going home. And was like, no, I've already come all this way. It's an honor to cover Nikola Jokic, to watch this team, to cover basketball. I should go. So I went on, got there about halftime, and pretty glad I did because I got to be in the building for the first 30-20-20 in NBA history. And when I walked in, I sat down and I was like, hey, all right, give me the lowdown. I know they shot the lights out in that first half. And Ryan was like, Jokic has actually kind of been subpar despite the stats. So,
it's funny, I say these things and sometimes I'm a little tongue in cheek because look, Jokic, he breaks brains a lot of the time because I know what the standard is for him. I know what the standard should be for him. It should be the highest basically that we've ever seen, outside of maybe Michael Jordan and LeBron James. But he was good, but I don't think that he was great. And there were things that he could have done better with. And then he just put up a second triple-double in the second half, Matt. Just another one.
Just another one.
We're going to do 2 triple-doubles in a game because you know what? Why not? Why not? Let's just see what happens. And you're right. Hurricane says it here. Is this even a top 5 Jokic game? I don't know. I don't know, Matt, because I can go back through the analog of all of the Jokic games, and I put it into the play. We've got a playlist here on Locked On for Jokic's greatest games. And I was like, I got to put it there because why wouldn't we? but there's an argument that it's not even top 5 because of how insane he is. But I do think that it is top 5. This is one of those that I'm going to remember for a while. It's one of those that you see the all-encompassing impact on a consistent basis. Everybody in that locker room lauded his defense, including Michael Malone post-game, but it was about the 30-20-20. Nobody's ever done it before. I don't know if anybody ever will again. He is a one-of-one individual. Nobody is coming close to what he is accomplishing with the uniqueness that he is accomplishing it.
Yeah, it's to me, it's if it was just the numbers, it would be one thing, but you can watch the game and understand the impact that he has on it. And if you just watch the impact and we're like, yeah, he makes winning plays all the time. Do you know what usually is kind of like the data point that basketball, but like if you looked at it, they actually weren't that efficient. Like, oh, like they didn't, they missed a bunch of shots. Nope. He's 59% from the field tonight and 43% from three. I mean, just it's nonstop. Like I go to the next thing. I'm used to being like, well, he was good at this, but not this, and it was this, but not this, and this, and then not this. And like the defense I've talked about this year, but I don't even want to talk about that tonight because he was really great in the fourth quarter. Here's another thing. I've spent the entire last 2 days talking about how much I'm annoyed by a lot of the advanced metrics, like the new ESPN net points one rewards Jokic for his rebound rate when I'm like, well, the Nuggets aren't a great rebounding team. So what are we really doing here? Like, what's the point? Like, okay, yeah, he grabs a lot of rebounds, but doesn't rebound well as a team. You know what he did tonight? He was amazing on the rebounds. He was amazing on the glass in that second half. He was so good. He was snagging heavily contested rebounds with one arm, moving the ball away from defenders, getting great position. Just, I mean, yeah, he had 21 rebounds.
You want to hear a crazy stat? Matt, He had 21 rebounds and the rest of the Nuggets at 17. So when you talk about the team like not being a great rebounding team, sometimes it might just be that they rely on him so much in these cases.
And it's just he's so relentless. Aaron Gordon tonight called it a quiet 30-20-20. And Jokic got back up. He's like, yeah, it kind of was. It's just kind of in the flow. Sure. When Nikola Jokic talked to us the day after, because he came to the podium at 12:30, because he hates all of us badly, he did talk about I love D-Mac's question for him. D-Mac opened up the presser by asking him, what are you going to tell your grandkids about this game? And he was like, I'm going to lie. I'm going to say that the scorekeeper was wrong and I should have had more. And it was just it was like the ultimate Joker experience tonight. It was absolutely incredible.
I asked him if he would say, okay, so you had 40, 30, 30. Is that what we're going with? Is that the new bar that you're establishing at this point? Like for your grandkids?
And so, look, it wasn't overtime. That doesn't matter to me. I think he will eventually have a 30-20-20 in regulation. He's become close a couple times. I just want to say that. So LeBron's entire first marketing campaign was we were all witnesses. And it was a really powerful campaign. And it really did kind of feel like that. It's like, wow, we're watching something we've never seen before. And it turned out to be true. And we're still watching it 20 years later.
Yeah. But
with Nikola Jokic, that's how I feel on these nights, which is, it's happened a lot where we just kind of slip past it. And it's just like this season more than any other, I've honestly just been like, I'm watching history. Like I'm watching a season that will be talked about forever. And he may not win MVP, which is both crazy, but also it's understandable in a certain context.
Yes.
Both those things can be true.
Yes.
It's not a travesty if Joker doesn't win his fourth MVP.
Correct.
It is cognitively dissonant for me that he can have what I am right now currently considering to be the best single offensive season in NBA history and not win it, except all right, but if the other players that had those other seasons were up against what Shea's doing, yeah, okay, maybe. But that's a conversation for another day. It's more just that so grateful to be in Denver, Colorado to cover this team in that building, that I get to go into that building and I get to watch this person play his sport and amaze everyone in the building and have people in disbelief almost every night, and especially tonight, with what he's able to accomplish. Just incredible.
So before tonight, I put together in my preview for this game, last 6 games, Jokic's worst 6-game stretch of the season. Like kind of a low point for him. Wonder what's going to happen in this particular one. Now, Suns couldn't guard him the way some of these other teams could because they don't have the personnel to do it, and made the note, hey, they're guarding him with the center. This is what happens, folks, when you guard Nikola Jokic traditionally. This is what happens when you don't guard him with 3 people, when you don't take him away entirely.
I wanted to shout out Swipa for that, by the way. Swipa said on the show today, he was like, they're not going to guard him like that, like the Lakers, all these other teams did.
Yeah.
So, like, credit to Swiper for predicting that the Suns were going to try and guard him like a mortal, and then discover that he is, in fact, more than mortal. By the way, somebody on Twitter shared with me the record of the Nuggets with Jamal Murray against the Suns against Devin Booker, which I bet that's going to be a fun one.
It makes me grin ear to ear whenever I hear it, Matt. It's awesome.
When you're taking your vitamins tonight before you go to bed with a big glass of water, just look at that tweet and smile. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. I want to talk about some of the other guys. It feels weird to talk about anybody else on the night. The guy had 30-20-20. But we'll talk about some of the other guys. Talk about the breakdowns on the final sequence of that forced overtime, the Nuggets' response in that game, and Michael Malone's comments about finding joy. All that more on the other side here on Locked On Nuggets. Basketball season's heating up, and there's no better way to get on the action than with Prizepicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prizepicks, you just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's easy to use, available in over 30 states, and lets you mix and match projections across different sports. How about you just take Joker more than on everything? Just take more on points and rebounds and assists and threes and steals and all of the things, and then you can go up to 1,000 times your money. How about that? Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks. Run your game. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making us part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Sunday morning. It's Sunday. No, it's Saturday. It's Saturday. It's not Sunday. It's Saturday. It's Saturday morning.
Sunday's when the big game starts. That's
we'll talk about that one in here in a little bit. You haven't heard a note about Braun's big shot. I don't.
You seem to be a little bit disopposed of that particular shot. You know, the one that he hit that had initially put them up in regulation and was a very big shot.
Was it a game winner?
It had the potential to be, man. It was an unfortunate.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask you to have the potential, Ryan. Was it a game winner?
No, it actually wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So we can just move on. Christian Braun made a 3. Good for him. Christian had a great night. Aaron Gordon had a much better night, but Christian had a great night. And yeah, I mean, come on, man. Aaron was 7 of 10 from 3. Come on.
You can't just say much better night and then say 7 of 10 from 3 when CB also went 4 of 5 and hit a very clutch 3. That even got them to, because if he misses that one,
did they win the game?
Matt, if he misses that one and they get the rebound, then maybe it's not even going into OT.
There's so many things we could do with that. There's so many.
You're a cranky old man who's up past his bedtime. What is this?
No, just okay. I will say this. Let's actually talk about this because I think this is actually kind of interesting. So the Nuggets expressed, like Jokic said after the game, I thought his quote about Christian was really great. As you tried to force feed the idea that it was a big shot. What he said was that he was like the team. He's like, I think Christian's a really good shooter. He's like, there's this idea he's not like he think he shot pretty well last year, and he's shooting pretty well this year. And he is, in fact, Gray shared with me that he's 39.5% above the break. Christian above the break. Braun did hit a massive corner three in overtime. That was actually a big shot. And so Joker, actually, one of the things that Joker said was he knows when to take the shot and when not to take the shot. And I think that's like a really good point. Is like Christian doesn't ever force up a shot where it's like, ooh, that's a bad three. Ever. And he doesn't really pass them up much either. There's a couple of times I think that he sometimes record scratches a little bit. But for the most part, I think he's got really good discretion on when to take threes. And that really matters. And in the playoffs, the Nuggets are definitely going to enter it with the confidence that Christian's going to hit those threes. And if he misses them, it doesn't mean that he's not built for it or this, that, or the other. Or that he's not a good shooter, actually, like all these types of things. Like he can just miss them. I think there's something to the idea of like the playoff shooters versus non-playoff shooters, but I also kind of think like I have no reason to think Christian's not. Christian's makeup he is so consistent and he's so steady and he's so rock solid that like I think it's perfectly fine to trust him in those situations, and he just continues to have an absolutely marvelous season.
Yeah, the other thing, and I tried to hammer this home to a couple of folks when comparing him to, I would say, another comparable role player in Lou Dort, who is now in his 7th year and has gone through these struggles. There were a lot of times where teams were just daring Lou Dort to shoot because that was the right strategy at that time. And he has had some stinkers. He had stinkers last year. Christian Braun will probably have some stinkers. There's no doubt that there's going to be some opportunities for him to record scratch a little bit in the playoffs. Last year, he shot 22% from three. The year before, he shot 20% from three. So it's not like he has a great history of shooting well in the playoffs. But as these guys continue to grow, as he continues to, and again, I was talking about this when we're talking about him going 2 of 8 from three and how it was a good thing that he went 2 of 8, was that the fact that he has to go through these reps, he has to go through these things and go through these moments in order to become a better player. Whether he gets there at this year or not remains to be seen. And I can understand not having a ton of faith in him shooting above like 35% from the 3-point from three in the playoffs. But what if he did? And I don't think it's that crazy to think that like he could surprise us in the playoffs with that. And games like tonight, big shots. I don't care what you say. Big shots in a clutch moment. The more opportunities that he gets to shine in these situations, the better off the Nuggets are going to be.
I disagree. I don't think it has any sort of bearing on what's going to happen in those moments whatsoever. I think they're completely independent. I don't think that there's any sort of way that you can actually look at Christian Braun and be like, because I thought about asking that tonight. I was like, going to ask him, like, hey, there's like, talk to me about the confidence translation of like, you made this shot. So the next time that you're kind of over there. And I'm like, Christian's been in these moments like his whole life. Like he's been operated this level. This is, I don't think it's that. I really don't. I think there's certain players, like I think Zeke Naji has to learn to play in those types of environments. I don't think that Christian Braun does. I think he's just either going to make him or he's not. I don't think that him making it tonight is going to be, it means that it's more likely that he's going to make it versus OKC in round 3. And I don't think it's more likely or less likely that if he had missed tonight, it would mean that it was less likely that he would make them in round 2 versus the Lakers. Like, I think Christian is a little bit beyond that. I think there are players that we can ask that question about. I genuinely don't think that Christian needs the confidence. I think Christian's confidence is exactly where it needs to be.
Yeah, it's a visualization thing for me. Like it's one of those things where you see it happen over and over again. And that's where you start to have that success and you start to believe. And I know he's a confident guy. Like you said, he's a champion. He's been in these situations before. He's a guy that Michael Malone is going to trust. It doesn't necessarily even have to be from the 3-point line. It can just be in other ways.
Okay, it's 2:00 in the morning Mountain Time, and I'm feeling jazzy, so I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant here. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, so Frank Contreras and a couple other people have mentioned this. They struggled to win against the Suns, and people are down. Guys, this is a great win. It was a great win. Here's the deal. The Phoenix Suns are not as bad as they have played the entire year. You could say that, well, you are what your record is, and it's true. Like the Suns, based off of their record, are a very talented team that has massively disappointed and finds ways to lose games exactly like this one. But this Denver Nuggets team has also been a team that has when faced with adversity sometimes, absolutely got knocked on its ass. And they had a huge lead and they blew it, and they were able to get themselves back together, fight, make the necessary plays, including a huge Michael Porter Jr. steal on the interior for the putback bucket. He should have gotten an and one, by the way. He was clearly shoved in the back on that one. That was like, this is a good win. I was very curious about this game coming in, and I told Swipe that this afternoon on the show, because the Suns are coming off of a massive comeback win versus the Clippers earlier this week. That was the last game. That had the opportunity for them to build off of that tonight, and for it to be like, hey, we're figuring it out. We're finding it. Book was great in the second half. KD was amazing tonight. Royce O'Neal played absolutely terrific. I thought Tyus Jones played really well. They got good contributions from guys, and the Nuggets were able to find a way to win this game. And yeah, you want them to beat the elite teams. I get it. I understand that they're going to have a big test this weekend that we'll talk about. But by God, man, you love your basketball team, and your basketball team winning games is fun. And your basketball team winning games against Devin Booker and Kevin Durant and guys that you face off against in the playoffs, regardless of the season they're having, is fun and good. Take some joy. It can't all be about what you're worried is going to happen about in 2 months. Trust me, I spend the entire year worrying about that for you. My entire life is consumed by trying to figure out what's going to happen in the playoffs, how the matchups are going to go. How do you build the win profile? Are you good enough in this area? Are you top 5? Blah, 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 blah. For one night, this was an incredible performance by an all-time player versus a conference rival that they have battled with consistently in multiple playoff series. And despite blowing a huge lead, they found ways to come up with clutch big moments that fans will remember in a very fun game. The defense wasn't good enough. Surprise.
Yeah.
Worry about that another day and take the win tonight.
I do think that some of this is definitely just trolls, and especially trolls from other fan bases. You know, Matt, as we get more popular with some of these other fan bases, with our viral clips, we're dragging in some of the masses into our amazing shows, and they're learning in real time just how awesome we are. So it's always fun to say hi and to say goodbye to the folks that are trolling in the comments. So thank you for
aside from that, it's like some of the regulars are still down on it. Like every night it's like, you know, they won, and I'm like, guys,
I think this was great practice to me. This was great for reps of just like, how many times has this starting unit actually played games together this year? It's sure. The answer is 18. This is their 18th game together. So how many of those games actually went to an overtime game or even to clutch time? I think maybe half of them, maybe not. So I think
undefeated in overtime this season, by the way, the Denver Nuggets, which is interesting. Yeah, so I just think that it's worth taking. Malone talked about this, which I thought was really surprising, because he's a guy that hates losing way more than he likes winning. But he was like, you got to take joy in it, man. He's like, I know guys in this league, they're coaches that just, even after wins, are miserable. And he was like, you got to enjoy these moments. That was like a really positive attitude from a guy that I thought was going to be very pissed off about them blowing a huge lead and having horrendous defense again. But like, Malone was able to, if Michael Malone can enjoy this win, you should find a way to enjoy this, because it was pretty awesome and Ball Arena was rocking, and it was a good night. It was a good night to be a Denver Nuggets fan tonight.
It was fun. Like, and this is one of those, like, because the season and the regular season in general is getting devalued in a situation where teams have championship expectations and it's all building towards this thing later. Sometimes we forget to stop and smell the roses. And this was one of those games that people will remember. There are a lot of great moments. And when Jokic does stuff like this, then it makes it easy to go to Ball Arena on a consistent basis. Matt, I take a box score home for every single home game. And I've been to every single home game so far. And this one, like this one will be circled on that particular folder that I put these in, because this is just one of those that you have to remember. You have to remember the fond ones as much as you can.
Because of Joker and Christian and Aaron and all these guys, I did not have a chance to kind of like test drive this. I will tell you. So Jamal had 19 points on 8 of 14 tonight. He was only 1 of 4 from 3, but he shot 57% from the field, 8 of 14. He had 8 assists, 1 turnover. I will just tell you, I told you this during the game, I think he's playing better than he did at any point last year. This is the best I've seen him since the title run. Like, he's playing great basketball right now.
It's been fun. It's an interesting moment. If you actually look at the numbers of his season, slowly starting to creep up into career highs and career bests of what he's been able to do. The consistency is there, and as we've seen, the explosiveness with 30-point games, 40-point games, even 50-point games is back in some ways as well. So, look, I mean, there are flaws to this team, Matt. We've gone over them ad nauseum. But at the end of the day, if you have Nikola Jokic and you have this version of Jamal Murray, you always have a chance. Always. It doesn't matter who you're facing. You're going to need some help. You're going to need some context, but you've always got a chance.
All right. OKC, 2-game set, Sunday, Monday. They're 1-1 season series, which people forget that in the darkest days of Denver, they still found a way to beat OKC, which I feel like kind of goes under the radar.
Yep.
This is going to decide MVP if it goes one way or the other. If Jokic wins both, he probably wins. I'm not kidding. If Shea wins both, he definitely wins. I'm not kidding. If they split, we're right back to where we were, and we're still going to have to legislate this thing out. I want to make it clear that I am saying for the record that this is a completely stupid way to decide an award that is determined by 82 games of performance. It's supposed to be a regular season award judged across all of the games, not the head-to-head matchup between the candidates. And judging them when the two players don't even play the same position is incredibly dumb to me. But it's going to matter, and that's just like how it's going to go. But it's way bigger for playoff positioning as well, as the Nuggets try and catch up with the Los Angeles Lakers, who have a massive game tomorrow versus the Boston Celtics. Okay. Do you think it's going to be Chet with Isaiah on the back line or Isaiah on Joker with Chet on the back line? I think they will front.
Before I get into that, FanDuel has updated odds. Shea is minus 300. Jokic is plus 220. So this is still very close.
It was minus 700 plus 450, I think, earlier today. So
like this,
I'm not surprised.
Shift. Public opinion, of course, is going to shift when you see stuff like this, and public opinion will continue to shift if these games over the weekend and on Monday go the way that we think that they could. I think that Jokic will see every coverage. I honestly think, and Mark Dagnall, I don't think he would admit to this, and I know that you're probably going to not agree with me here. I think he's going to want to get some hardware for his guy. I think he's going to, like, for Shea, who has been there through the long haul for this team and gone through some of the tanking years, and this is an opportunity. It may be his best opportunity of his career to win an MVP on a team that's going to win potentially 65 games. I think he's going to try to throw the kitchen sink at Jokic. And I think that they might not even have some of their bigs on Jokic at times. They might put Jalen Williams on him and say, hey, we're going to have 2 7-footers on the weak side trying to clog up these passing lanes and try to do the fronting strategy with a big, strong guy who can then have Chet as the weak side help and Isaiah Hartenstein as the weak side help. I think that they'll throw a lot of different things. They'll probably start with Isaiah Hartenstein on him, but I think that they're going to go with a lot of different ways. And the Thunder are so good, Matt, especially defensively, that however they do it, they're going to be prepared. And Jokic is going to be, it's going to be a lot to try to get through this.
Yeah, I don't agree on your assessment. I don't think I think that is contrary to the very success that they've had. They believe in process and culture more than any other organization in the NBA. It is more important to them than anything else, because to them, it's like, if you start compromising that, it's a slippery slope and you compromise everything. And that's what's got them so much success. I think it's 50-50 whether they pull out a dedicated game plan or if they play it vanilla. Part of me wonders if they play this vanilla.
It would be the gamesmanship kind of strategy, saving stuff for the playoffs, of course.
Yeah. So That to me makes the most sense because I think OKC has a healthy respect for Denver. And I think they know it's like, look, it's very possible we see these guys in the Western Conference Finals. We really do not want to give them stuff on tape.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if the opposite could be true is they could be like, hey, let's see if we can figure out a game plan and get them second guessing themselves. They're also just good enough to play it straight up and win. They're one of the few teams that can do that. They don't need to throw the kitchen sink. It's a bad matchup in a lot of reasons. So Lou on Jamal is not great.
It also may not be Lou. He might spend some time on Michael Porter that might put Jalen Williams on Jamal.
Yep.
And
they might put Lou on Joker.
Yeah, that would be wild. That's like, you better believe that Jokic committed offensive fouls trying to get Lou Dort off of him, and Lou will fight scratch and claw because he's really, really good at it, but he's also extremely good at baiting that. So
if that happens, I'm just gonna we should just program the first block for you to complain about the officiating and how
we've already pre-programmed it. It's already there. Don't you worry.
Russ, I think, is gonna have a good game,
and he can.
I don't know if he will. He might be too hyped. They need him to have a good game. And the reason is because I think that this team is better equipped than most to shit. Now, if Jamal just goes out and puts two flamethrowers on his wrist and goes full on pyro from X-Men the Animated Series, then by all means, the Nuggets can send a message. I would love nothing more than to see Jamal do that because it'd be good for his confidence and the team. It'd be a great story if Jamal were able to just absolutely cook OKC's elite defenders. But the history that we have says that Jamal's probably going to struggle, which means Russ is going to have to get downhill. Now, turnovers are never good, and turnovers are this team's Achilles heel. It's everything in this one. It's everything. You cannot turn the ball over. This is the best turnover team maybe ever.
Yeah, they're unbelievable.
They might legitimately be the best turnover defense in NBA history. That's how good they are. Passing lanes, stripping underneath, deflections on passes, steals off of the ball. They just take the ball from you and go the other way. Shea in particular is really good at that. It's not a great matchup for the Nuggets defensively because the stuff that we talk about with the lack of screen navigation is really killer with Shea. Shea's one of the best screen navigators in the league. It's one of the reasons why he's so difficult to stop. He will get downhill. He will get to his drives. He will get to his spots. A lot of this is going to be, if it's Christian or Aaron or whoever, they're going to have to get over that screen from very good screens from Hartenstein and Chet. And they're going to have to contest these without fouling, which is very difficult because of how Shea is able to manipulate his body. I will tell you that the vast majority, there will be calls that I will think will be bad. Shea will get calls that are bad. There are all going to be a lot of them where I'm going to look back at them. If you go back and you actually look, you're going to be like, yep, no, got him
on the wrist. Yeah, no, it's crafty. That's what the best players do. So I'm not going to sit here and complain right now about Shea getting whatever calls he's going to get. Denver has to prove that they can put together an actual game plan that can slow him a little bit. They also need to make sure that he doesn't reject the screen over and over again, because that's one where Jokic just can't recover to those places if Shea rejects the screen and gets to open space. So Christian has to make sure that he uses it and doesn't get crossed up or hesitated into a screen that just isn't there. That's going to be tough.
Tacos and Ranch says, if Malone doesn't blitz Shea and just try to get the ball out of his hands, he's a bad coach. So one thing I will tell you is the problem, and when Shea is so good at his drives, you either have to give him the angle and try and stay with him without fouling while you're turning, or he's going to stretch you. If you stay lateral with him and trying to hedge it out, Shea is among the league best at stretching you out until you're in a switch. He'll drag you so far that your guard reaches a point where he's like, I have to recover. Like I got to go get back on the guy because we're too far out. And then you got Jokic on an island. So you honestly need to play about one step back. You don't actually want to blitz Shea. You can. The Mavericks did this last year where they were like, we're just going to blitz Shea and we're going to pack the paint and contest everything. And then Lou Dort and Isaiah Joe and Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren are all going to miss shots. Why? Because we're the Mavericks. And somehow this is working out for us before Nico Harrison destroys our team. I don't think the Nuggets can really do that. The other problem is Isaiah Hartenstein on the short roll, right? So Shea is so big that if you put two on the level and you actually do blitz him, if he connects on that pass to Isaiah Hartenstein, it's bad because now Isaiah is in a position where he gets to hit the floater, which he's almost automatic at, or he gets a dish to the one of the corners or the lob. He gets in that Draymond position, essentially. Execution is really important here. This is why it's like you honestly, the best formula, I think, is legitimately focus on your offense and play a little bit of high drop and live with the fact that Shea's probably going to put up 50. If the Nuggets are going to win this game, it's not going to be on the defensive end. They're going to have to win it with offense. The Nuggets are not in the Thunder's weight class defensively. They're not even close. You can't win a slugfest here, no matter how much Michael Malone wants. They have to out-execute them, force turnovers, get downhill, get transition points, and pace without turnovers.
That's how they won the first game that they won against this team back in, was it November? Gosh, it was like game 8 of the season. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. One player who played really well tonight for the Suns was Mason Plumlee, and he's doing a lot of the same things that you're talking about with Isaiah Hartenstein in terms of short roll, catch the ball, kick out, or dump off to a cutter. Like this is the 4-on-3 that Jokic would get when Murray was getting blitzed back when teams didn't really figure that out. And they're like, okay, so now we have to guard 3 guys when we've got an elite passing big or pretty close to it that can make all the decisions and generate good shots. So that's going to be tough. And Denver's going to have to hustle. They're going to have to try to close off as many of those things as possible. Again, OKC's so good that you can't give them the extra stuff. So you have to make sure that you're staying on top of turnovers. You are grabbing offensive rebounds and you're not allowing offensive rebounds because that's not a good rebounding team over there. Don't let them be better than they are. Like that's the most important thing is don't beat yourself in categories where OKC isn't necessarily as good because they're amazing in just about everything else.
Since the All-Star break, the Oklahoma City Thunder are only 10th in defense since the All-Star break. Unfortunately, they're second in offense.
Oh, great. Yeah. So you can score on them. That's the thing. Now they're going to be amped. And Matt, I don't know if you saw it today. They started none of their starters against Portland. They rested everybody. You don't think they care about these games on Sunday and Monday? Like they might put together a vanilla of a game plan, but they're going to try to win them. That's for sure.
I don't look at it the same way. I think I think they genuinely looked at this as coming off of where they were at in the schedule. It made a lot of sense to just rest this game. I just don't.
Well, yeah, because they can win by 20 when Aaron Wiggins is out there with going up against Portland. They're that good.
Yeah, and I think it's a smart tactic because the Spurs are the Thunder are very Spurs influenced, and the Spurs approach was the opposite, which is you rest versus the good team and you make sure you play versus the bad team so you get the guaranteed win. And this is OKC going the other direction and saying, okay, if we'll lower our winning percentage in a position of advantage in order to get our guys the necessary rest off. Again,
okay.
I get the idea, and maybe I'm overrating this. I'm just telling you that everything that I know about OKC, they do not operate on these types of narrative bandwidths from a decision-making standpoint. And that's driven from the very top all the way through the organization at every single level. They are not normal. Like they are not like other teams. They're just not.
Well, when they try to beat the Nuggets by 40 on Sunday, then we can talk about it. It'd be a big national TV game, and I think they're going to come out with the dogs hunting. That I really think that they're going to try to send a message.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys joining us here so late on a Saturday night, Saturday morning, Friday night, something.
Hey, quick question for you before we go. So Jokic 30-20-20, Luka 60-20-10. Which of those do you guys think Nico Harrison would be most comfortable trading? Which of those stat lines? Which of those do you think he's most happy relinquishing to history?
Boy, I mean, look, Calvin hasn't agreed to an extension.
And he most certainly won't if he brings that idea to the table. That's for sure.
Maybe Nico could take over as head of basketball ops and trade Jokic for Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves.
Now that would be the Rui Hachimura adjustment.
We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets. I'm so tired. What's wrong with you?